Welcome back to another race day vlog. We're headed up to Belterra today to go watch Mikasa run in half of a circle, aka 5.5 furlongs on the dirt. Now I know the last time I talked to you all, I was like, she's gonna go on the turf, hopefully. And then why are we going on the dirt? It was kind of like an opportunity fell into your lap type thing, and I was like, we're gonna take advantage of this. So typically the way it goes is when the trainer is looking for a race, right? Like we have our condition book, we're like, okay, so-and-so is ready to race. Let's see, this is kind of what I'm hoping for. Let's see if there's anything like that or close to like that, right? And so they'll go through and look. And then when it's time to actually enter the race, they'll put in the entry form. Well, sometimes the racetracks, they'll call the trainers and they'll be like, hey, we got this race. This is what it is. This is the conditions of the race. We just need like one more horse to fill the race, right? Like we kind of need this race to go. We would like this race to go. We just need one more horse to fill this race. Do you have anything? Or so you have so-and-so in your barn. Do you think like, do you think we can put this race, have her in this race to help fill the race? And so it was kind of that is what happened. And so they're like, hold on, the owners kind of want to put her on the turf. Let me call and see if they're okay with putting her on the dirt. And immediately I'm like, yes, let's do this, because one, if they're calling, it means it's going to be a short field, a smaller field. As of right now, there's only 6 horses in the field. And she's been running up against 12 and 14 horse fields, so she's been getting the big fields, right? So it will be really nice for her not to have to deal with all the other horses, all the other traffic trouble, and finally have like a little bit of a breather. Second, we know she likes the dirt. Like, yes, we want to try her on the turf because pedigree wise suggests she could do both dirt and turf. The way she moves, the way she trains, they think should prefer the turf. That being said, we do know she likes the dirt. She fires bullet. She'll be the best workout like every day of the week against 100-something horses. So we know she likes the dirt. So she should be fine going that distance on the dirt. And it gives her a break. Not to mention, it's Belterra. There is, now granted, you'll see horses travel and go from Belterra in Indiana quite often. They'll just be, back and forth, depending on the race. However, Indiana races tend to have a little bit higher quality. Like, Indiana is where you're going to see the intermischiefs, the Uncle Mo's in maiden special weights. You're typically not going to see them down over at Belterra, unless they just don't necessarily think that highly of the horse and they're just really hoping to have a win first time out, and they think, well, Belterra is right there. We'd rather go to Belterra than Indiana. So the competition can typically be a little bit easier at Belterra. And so that was my whole thought. I was like, well, obviously she's only raced 3 times. Well, this will be her 3rd race. Her first race, she did fine. First race, in my opinion, that's always the big learning experience. Like, that's first time seeing what we're asking them to do. And then her next race wasn't until like 8 or 9 months later. And so I was like, scratch her first race. This is now her new first race. This is because, there was a long break in between her 2 races. And so I was like, okay, her 2nd race is now her 1st race. And so now she ran okay there. She just got a little tired, and I didn't necessarily expect anything super major because she had been coming off of a break. But ideally, you want to see a little bit of improvement after every race, right? And so obviously it's a little bit easier. It's a little bit easier on her. If she just kind of comes down and runs at something just a little gentler. It sounds like a negative, like me not talking, because like, here's the thing, they think the people who have this horse in the barn, they think very highly of her. They think that she's probably one of the better horses they have in the barn, up until they had a couple 2-year-olds that they were breaking for a client. And there was one, now granted, that colt, we all were like, this is the next big thing. Like, we all really loved this colt. So obviously he like outshone her when it came to go time. But like, but then he's gone and he's now in Florida. But like the horses that are in his regular string, like he thinks very highly of this filly. So, like, it's just like, it's one of those things. It's like, well, all right, let's see if we can let her have her light bulb moment, is essentially my thought process. Let's give her a little bit of an easier we're going to cheat and use the cheating system into mischief that they don't think too highly of. And we're going to like, okay, let her have her light bulb moment. Let's break her maiden, or at least get her a 2nd or 3rd, and just have a nice, easy race. Let her have that light bulb moment. And then if she wins really well, we can take her back up to Indiana and an allowance, and hopefully maybe find her a turf race or something, but at least get her that confident boost, that light bulb moment. My throat is now killing me. I feel like I said all that in like one breath, and and now I'm like struggling to breathe. Anyway, so that was kind of the thought process for me. I have a feeling that I don't know everyone else's thought process. In all honesty, that was just me thought process. I know that everyone really wants to put her on the turf, and I think she'll do well on the turf. Her mom looks very turfy. Her sister looks very turfy. She's got another sister now. She also kind of looks turfy. So the family looks like a turf horse. Mikasa, I always thought looked a little more dirt. However, she is bred to do turf as well. So it's kind of like she could do either or. But I'm more optimistic with this race just because, in my opinion, this is going to be the easiest competition she has to deal with. You know. So yeah, ideally, hopefully it is successful. Hopefully, like I tend to be like a pessimist, realist type person, and so like that little part of my brain is definitely like patting my head a little bit, and it's like, hey, don't get too excited. You could still be last. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But at the same time, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is the chance for her to have that good light bulb moment, that good education that I think would just help her out. You know what I mean? Not that she really needs it. Obviously, it's only her third race. So really, she like on her second race because, but so like, improvement is all we need. Anyway, I've rambled too much. I'm confusing myself. I'm going to go buy butter in a box, and then we're going to go to Belterra.
And they're off. For the lead, Stay Faithful come out well. Kate's Concerto on the outside presses the pace. A half length back to Devil of Paradise, shadowed on the outside by CC Cinco as they run down the backstretch. And they're right together. It's Stay Faithful on the inside. Outside, Kate's Concerto. 2 lengths back to Devil of Paradise in the white jacket. Shadowed to the outside by CC Cinco. Opening quarter on the board of 23 as they round the far turn. With a lead, Kate's Concerto, but company's coming. Now threading the needle. Devil of Paradise came right on through. To the farther outside is CC Cinco. And with a lead, Devil of Paradise. Rolando Aragon sent right on through as they set down for the stretch drive. And Devil of Paradise has lead under a vigorous hand ride. Down on the inside, Stay Faithful is coming back, and Stay Faithful holds a rail and now takes the lead again. Stay Faithful down on the inside. Tiago Canuto came right up the inside. Outside, Devil of Paradise. These two going to duke it out to the wire. It's going to be Stay Faithful, a maiden no more.
You've watched it. Let's break it down. She's the 2, so she's up on the inside. The goal was try to see if we could hustle her out and get her up in front, but she was a little bit too slow coming out of the gate. So instead of going to the front, we went up with the backup plan, and that was just to set her off the pace, let her relax, and figure we'll make a move around the turn. Fabulous plan. Great plan. Would have worked great if that had been followed. Was not the case in this situation. Anyway, they're all just chilling, doing what they're doing. Right here, we're all fine and good, and then it's right around here where we make the mistake. He moved way too early. He should not have moved her until right about here. This, in all honesty, potentially costed the win. It was just way too much too soon type deal. because these horses are not necessarily running full blast for the full extent of the race. You know, they have their speed that they're going, and then you ask them to accelerate, and he just hit the acceleration button a little too early. So the inside horse ended up fighting back. He tried to be a little bit aggressive to see if he could get her to fight back as well, and she kind of did a little bit. But the inside had a little bit more horse, and so she was able to put her away and settle her and keep her into second place. Overall for her, she had a great experience. She thought that she had the best day ever. If you remember, like I had said, like obviously she was due for a race. Like we had entered her in a race. She had some mucus, and obviously they needed to be able to breathe in order to run, so we scratched her. So she was past due for a race. She was a little amped. She was ready to go. She handled herself very well in the paddock, very well out on the track. And then they said when she got back to the barn, she cooled out great, and she was like bouncing around. She's like, "Let's go again," and I was, and you know, all good signs, great signs. She had a good trip. There was a jockey's objection against her with this horse on the 6. He was like, "She touched me coming around the turn. There was like a whole horse length between you and her, sir. We did not interfere with you." Anyway, so she had a good trip. But the only downside, and it's obviously a great experience for her. For her, no complaints. The jockey moved way too soon. As soon as I heard the words from the announcer and I saw it, and I was like, why? It makes sense if you're on the sister. So Peach is her sister. Peach takes like 5 to 10 business days, just like me, to respond to anything, okay? Like she takes a while to get going. So it makes sense that you have to ask her sister early. Mikasa, on the other hand, and it's very evident because you can see when he asked her and she immediately went. She's very responsive. She doesn't take the 5 to 7 business days, right? So he definitely should have held off and waited. I think he was just worried about either A, getting behind horses, which it was 3 other horses. You could have gone wide. It would not have hurt anything. Or also, like, you know, the topic of conversation was the 4 was the one to beat, essentially. And I think he was also worried about letting that horse go too far and not being able to catch her. Either way, he just jumped the gun. It was so, anyway. What are you doing? Okay. Anyway, so overall, she did great. She did fabulous. There was a brief moment yesterday where I had the urge to reach through the TV screen and shake my jockey. Can't do that. It's not legal. It's not possible. But besides that, overall, it was fine. She had a good trip, good race. So no real complaints on that end. As for next time, what is the game plan? Because we already talked about the game plan. She seems to have come back fine. They looked at her today. They looked at her yesterday. She's happy as can be, a little jumpy bean, bouncing around, being a problem. More than likely, again, try and find a turf race for her. Also, and I did say, like, I don't mind putting her on the dirt if we have to, because I think it doesn't help if we have to keep waiting for the right turf race to come along type thing. We also recommended she can go past 5 furlongs. I wouldn't mind seeing her up to a mile. I think a mile will be her limit. So that's kind of the thing. I also did recommend I would actually technically I would prefer to see her back at Belterra rather than go all the way back to Indiana, unless we are specifically going to Indiana for the turf, if that makes sense. So like if we're running on the dirt, I wouldn't mind seeing her back at Belterra, but if we're going to if there's a race on the turf up at Indiana, I wouldn't mind going to Indiana to run on the turf. I also wouldn't mind doing turf at Belterra. But Belterra freaking, like, if there's moisture anywhere in the air, they immediately cancel their turf races. And like, oh no, we're gonna put them on the dirt. I'm like, stop it. Don't do it. It's not even really that wet. And they're like, yes, it is. I'm like, fine. So that's the plan, kind of. I don't know. Overall, decent race. She did great. I wanted to strangle the jockey for like 0.2 seconds. Because why were we moving so early? In her next race, we'll more than likely looking for the turf, also looking at dirt. Wouldn't be surprised if we stretch her out a little bit, so see her anywhere between 5 furlongs to a mile. Either at Belterra or Indiana, because we are not driving down to Ellis. Ellis is currently open. Churchill closed recently, and Ellis is right now. What's after Ellis? Kentucky Downs opens, I think, after Ellis. And then Churchill again? I think Churchill again for like a little bit. And then Kingland opens. Yes. and then back to Churchill, and then Turfway. It's the whole map. We just bounce back and forth. But Ellis is a long drive. Like, we go to Indiana pretty willingly, and it's like a 2-something hour drive, but heading down to freaking Ellis is like, it's like a 3 to 4 hour drive. We do have to go down there eventually because we're supposed to look at a horse for somebody for the sales. So we do have to eventually make that drive, but it's like such a long drive. So long. Anyway, that's all I got for the day. I'm assuming Peach should also be ready to run here soon. I know they're looking at a potential turf. Here's the thing. So we had actually, there had been a race on the turf, and they had entered her, and we scratched her because I was like, I don't want to keep doing this 2-week thing, and he's like, yeah, cool. So he scratched her, and we were looking. There was supposed to be another turf race going along at Belterra. I don't think it filled, or I don't think it went off, or something, because we were supposed to go, and it didn't, which is rude. But that was the plan for Peach. Next is hopefully put her back along on the turf, but only on Belterra because she doesn't like Indiana's turf. So that was, or just back on the dirt. But she should be ready to run. They said that she was like tearing down the barn the other day after her workout because she was just so excited and she just felt way too good. I was like, fabulous. Love to hear it. So, as I have a feeling, Peach is probably next. And then we'll either see Mikasa or Streaking as well. So, that's all I got for now. I guess until next time, we will figure that, I don't know.